Good evening, everyone. As you heard, I work for Salesforce, which is a technology company. And what we've done is we've taken our customer relationship management platform and we've modified it to collect beneficiary-specific data and use it for the social sector. But that's the boring part of my introduction. I think the more interesting part of my introduction is actually my relationship with BRAC. Over 13 years ago, I came to Bangladesh looking to work with acid survivors. At the time, I hadn't worked a day in my life. I didn't know how to go about it. And I quickly discovered that the type of reach that BRAC has, the depth that it has in communities, is absolutely amazing. Combined with the scale, it's extremely powerful. So for example, back then, 13 years ago, they were able to identify acid survivors in various communities and bring them to Dhaka for the different types of supports they needed, whether it be medical or legal or financial. And it was a very powerful model. So fast forward 13 years, I'm here, and what am I thinking? I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if we had a technology solution that allowed you to take all of these beneficiary needs and put them together in one place like a wallet? Sounds like a great idea, right? Not that fast. You actually need a very strong strategy, such as BRAC's, and good relationships with the community and depth in order to actually execute on something like that. And that's what this session is about. A combination of strategy and technology. And I'm thrilled to be here today to see both of my worlds collide, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity. So, we wanted to ground this session in two main frameworks. So the key question is, how do you develop insights to guide your technology for social good strategy? The first framework is an inward-looking framework. It's very much about an organization thinking about what social sector challenge they're trying to crack, who they're trying to be. The first key question we encourage organizations to ask is, what are the greatest pain points that hinder your mission, future vision, or scale? So what is getting in your way of solving the social sector challenge that you're trying to solve, and what perspective are you coming from? Not just today, where do you want to go tomorrow as well? The second, how do you currently use technology to advance your mission? The second step is more about an assessment of the current state, or looking inward, and an analysis of where you are using technology and how. The third, which of the pain points do you think can be solved by technology, and to what extent? So technology can do many things. Technology is a wonderful word, but we're not doing technology for the sake of doing technology. It must be thought of as an investment. So if you're making that investment and you want to get to something successful quickly, you have to have a hypothesis-driven approach. You're going to be testing hypotheses in the market. So that's what we're encouraging here. The next stage, based on your experience, which tech design, delivery, or scale challenges have you experienced, or risks? This is all about testing your assumptions. So, a particular technology may be working very well in Africa or the US, but there are certain contextual situations that apply that may change how successful a technology will be, say, in Bangladesh or another country. So really understanding that and testing the assumptions of what you're trying to implement is key. Finally, what benefits do you see resulting in using technology to solve for specific pain points over time? So this is all about thinking about benefits, but thinking about it in a phased manner: short term, medium term, and long term. Now we have the outward looking framework. So the first question is, what are others in your sector doing with technology in your geography, and what are lessons learned? The idea is you don't want to recreate the wheel. You want to borrow from people who've already tried these ideas and improve upon them. Like as they say, you can learn more in a 20-minute conversation with a number of key experts than you can in weeks of research. So the landscape analysis piece is key. The next piece, what are the strengths and capabilities that bring partners together? How much will you work with them to co-design or deliver? So as we're seeing more and more in the social sector, as this forum shows, aligned action and collaboration is now at the heart of social innovation. This is across sectors, government working with social sector, working with social entrepreneurs, and you are but one piece of a much larger puzzle. So understanding that puzzle before you go on with a solution can be very helpful. Then what types of tech-enabling partnerships would result in exponential impact? And this is all about really understanding how far tech can go and what the limitations are, and really focusing on the tech-specific ideas. Then there's how do external incentives align to yours in terms of solving organizational pain points using technology. So if you have a technology and it's a great idea, it's not going to get very far if you don't have anybody willing to pay for it, if you don't have anybody willing to fund it, if there's no sort of business model behind it. So incorporating that business model thinking upfront is very important, and understanding what are the investors' incentives. Why would they even think about this? What are the governments thinking? What are international banks thinking? What are the consumers thinking? The beneficiaries thinking? Having those incentives mapped out can be critical to your thinking. Finally, what is the projected return of investing in tech and who might share in the cost? So this is about agreements and cost sharing. So once you have an idea and you have some sense of its benefits and you're ready to pitch it, there has to be a business model behind it. Something that is for free and dependent on external funding can only go so far for so long. Now, after these frameworks, we've had a lot of theory. Sorry, did you have a question?
I have a question here. Actually, it's not a question. So I would love to add the perspective of the practitioners, which I am, which my team does. One point I'd like to address here is like you said, the ROI, the return on investment is very important, and you are trying to find out a business model. But as I recall, when we were trying to find things like we were trying to innovate with technology, as you know that in Bangladesh, it's really hard because people in country, they're not technologically advanced. So when we tried to do that, we always had in mind that we had to create a great impact. And we were actually not very concerned about the ROI, but yes, we did the ROI. Okay. But I think from our perspective, the practitioner's perspective, it's very important to feel the cause, to get an idea if this would be helpful for the community, this could be scaled up, this could bring in impacts. So I think it's very important to bring in the feelings.
Taneem, sorry to cut you off. I'm so sorry. Look, this is all about having a North Star. You have to be aiming towards something from the start. Otherwise, you're more likely to make mistakes.
But yes, I do believe in North Stars, and I do believe that we should have some outputs and outcomes before we kind of like finalize, yes, we are going to do it. But as you're talking about technological interventions, innovations, technological innovations can be very scrappy. What we felt is like we were scrappy in trying to do things, and also we kind of like did rapid testings. We could do very small pilots, and we did that. So, and kind of like that gives us the total idea that what could impact finally throughout these interventions. But the thing you were talking about here is like to finalize a plan, to finalize the numbers. What is the return here? How would I get the investments back? But is it really necessary? Because you have to feel the cost there. Because I see you're standing there with your framework, and I am sharing my view here with a practitioner's practical example.
Do you have issues with my frameworks?
Actually, I do love your framework, but I would love to add some examples, and these are the examples.
Are there too many words? Are they just too complicated for you?
But it's not complicated, but I think I will have to cut you down on the implementation. But
No, we're moving on.
But to move on, I think I will agree
She's
with
right.
She's right.
She's right. Moving on,
now,
Taneem.
Moving on,
actually,
not stars to guide us, but there should be a sweet spot.
Okay,
where we
point
can
taken. Yeah.
Are you seriously taking my point?
Yes,
That
yes,
was the
yes.
thing. Please
So
do
the
that.
truth is there is a sweet spot. So it's not all about frameworks, and it is also about being scrappy and testing and iterating things. So we'll get to that. And when you do your group exercises, it will be up to you to decide how framework oriented you'd like to be, given what you've seen, or how free flow you'd like it to go. So how do you think about a technology for social good strategy journey? So I just wanted to give you one example of how some social entrepreneurs I've worked with think about technology innovation. So there are many aspects of it. So they think about impact of technology at every step of the way. Their products, their programs. Then once they've developed it, it's all about piloting and really being very, very clear on the value proposition and going out and testing, just like Taneem said. So this speaks to his perspective. And finally, only once you've sort of tested and culled and iterated and spoken to beneficiaries, gone out into the field, will you come up with a few key ideas that you actually want to go out there and you want to pitch for funding. And that's sort of the solution phase where you can actually implement. And market building partnerships and financing are things that you need to be thinking about from the start. Now I'll share with you some of the outcomes, because I mentioned a North Star, an outcomes-driven approach to tech for social change. These are some of the outcomes that Salesforce.org, when they develop products, they use to measure the success of their solutions. So one is straightforward. The effectiveness and efficiency. Is this actual tech solution solving the problem that you're trying to solve? And what's the evidence for that? Is it doing so in a cost-effective way? So that's why we combine effectiveness and efficiency. Another example is growth. That's all about scale. So you have this technology that's working in a small population. What is your hypothesis around, will it be able to scale to other communities? And then a third, just as an example of things that are looked at, is innovation. Is this a new idea, or is this something that's already exists in the marketplace that's being done either cheaper or in a better way? And might it be better just to phase this out and go with a different solution? Now I'll turn it over to Taneem.
This slide actually, shows that we both agree that there is a sweet spot. And so the thing we were talking about, like, yes, we have a lot of frameworks, and yes, it does work. And being totally showing the respect towards all those frameworks, we have kind of agreed that there is a sweet spot where we need to follow all these frameworks, and also we need to find a sweet spot where we can kind of like implement and test out, iterate things, and kind of like find out what is the best thing that can bring in a great impact. So I think, just go a bit like, here I would like to share one example here. Like, I remember when BRAC collaborated or partnered with Google to find out our technological interventions for the informal sector, like giving out career-related solutions. We tried to come up with the sweet spot where kind of like we tried to get impact strategy. Like, we saw that where we can actually impact, and we saw that in informal sector, this is actually the 80% of the total market. And also, we kind of like also got the value, like, yes, if we can create an intervention that actually helps the youth or the informal sector regarding jobs, that we can actually create economical value of this model. And also then we kind of like saw this great opportunity where most of the people in our country, they are entering the job market. About 2.2 million people enters the job market, and we saw that, yes, we can pitch in this youth because they are technologically advanced. They can use Android phones. And then kind of like we come up with this idea that an Android app-based platform can give out job solutions that can created and kind of like implemented throughout the country, then that can give in a huge impact. So this is the spot you want to be. This is the thing. Like, here you want to be to create impactful technological innovation. Yeah. So I think now that we have an idea about like what are the frameworks and how you can kind of like iterate and design a model, we would like to see some great examples, I would say. So the first one is here. This we will see with sound. Can we have the video, please? Thank you.
Overnight, you could hear gunshots. You could see movements of pickup trucks with military convoys.
A war broke out, so it was a terrible condition that we could not endure it.
People are dying like flies, and there is starvation, there is looting.
We had to come here to be rescued.
So since 2016, there has been over 1 million South Sudanese refugees that have entered Uganda. Right now, we're sitting about 20 minutes away from Bidi Bidi refugee settlement, which is now the largest refugee settlement in the world, with over 272,000 people. And that entire settlement was not there 2 years ago.
A lot of the NGOs in the northern region are responding to the refugee crisis. They have high needs. Refugees have high need, and one of these needs is certainly connectivity.
On average, a person who is displaced for as much as 17 years. So really what we want to think about doing is how can we engage with local businesses to be able to support market infrastructure so that these people can make a living over time. And a huge piece of that is also connectivity.
Many of the mobile network operators don't consider investing in these regions because there's not a lot of high return for them. So connectivity is a big part of a lot of the programs that the NGOs are running.
As an organization working across 3 settlements that have quite poor network connectivity, network expansion in the settlements is absolutely critical to our ability to operate.
NetHope's role in all this has been to respond to the need for connectivity. The cost of internet is very high in these particular regions. What NetHope has been involved in has been to aggregate this entire demand and find a way to use that as a point of information for the mobile network operators, to have them see the value in extending connectivity to a lot of these areas that they work in. So NetHope, in partnership with Cisco, was able to connect these 10 different organizations at a very discounted price. With the agreement with Airtel, what we did was to have Airtel bring a link from their closest point of presence to the head office of many of these NGOs. We'd use the Cisco equipment to redistribute the link across the whole entire office.
Engaging with NetHope and having an ability to have much improved internet access has made our lives so much easier.
Top thing for me is the cost. We are spending less on internet, so that means we can spend as much on the children as possible.
Currently, we do have a lot of disease outbreaks, and through the internet, we are being portioned.
Yes. So from this example, what we are saying that there was a huge opportunity, there was a huge demand for connectivity, and this company, NetHope, with collaboration with Cisco, they created they kind of like created this network. They could connect these refugees, and this is a perfect example which shows that yes, they could find a place where they could bring in a huge impact. They wanted to see that the impact for these people were huge. Also, this is a great example. We have a lot of examples like it where Salesforce kind of like collaborated with Gavi and created a platform where they can efficiently manage vaccination throughout the country. And where in BRAC, what we are doing is with Salesforce, we are using artificial intelligence to kind of like effectively target our people. Where we're seeing that even we saw that we were struggling in inclusivity. People with disabilities, it is a hard time. We face a hard time to kind of like get into our interventions. And we saw that through using artificial intelligence, we saw that these people, we can find out the specific indicators where we can put emphasis. And through these indicators and through this data, we saw that we achieved greater efficiency and effectiveness in terms of like including disabled people in our program. So I can go on with all these examples, but yes, I think we have set a ground where we see that there are to create innovation, to create technological innovation, we see these examples which kind of like guide us to have an idea. So what we want to share here is like, so how do you solve a key social challenge using technology? This is the workshop is all about. So I think Samira can walk us over about the workshop we are doing right now.
Yeah.
Here you go.
So very quickly, you saw one example where technology was used to learn better in terms of the supply chain and efficiency of vaccines. Another example was about increasing internet access or the access to technology services, period. So there's many different shapes that technology can take. So I just wanted you to be thinking about that before we start the session. So what we'd like you to do is choose a topic: youth education, workforce development, gender equality, beneficiary insight, or behavioral change. Once you choose a topic, we will be forming groups. And if there are uneven numbers, we might move a few people around. And we're actually going to walk you through a design process of solving a social sector challenge that you decide upon or agree upon in your group. So right now, just a show of hands, the old school way, who's interested in youth education and workforce development? How many about is that? I see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's going to be multiple groups,
Yes.
right?
Yes. We can have
So
3 groups.
so if you could all basically, we want groups of 4 or 5. Do you want to help them organize into
Yes,
groups of
I
4
think,
or 5?
so
All the workforce development, maybe you can go with Taneem will kind of help
yes.
group you guys. You'll have to move a little bit. Maybe
Before
those
that,
3
I
tables
would,
back there.
I'd like to see the hands who are interested in youth education. All right.
So we'll do 3 tables here, back
If you
here,
guys
this
can come
this
up
corner.
here, we'll do the workshop here. Yeah, you can sit here in this table.
And who's interested in gender equality? Show of hands. Okay, so we'll do the back 2 tables will be gender equality. Anyone not interested in that, please get up and move to the respective space. I apologize. Yeah, and then the final is beneficiary insight and behavioral change. That could be in any sector. That's more about a lever of change as opposed to a sector. So who's interested in behavioral change? Okay, you guys can be up front here, maybe these 2 tables. And there are groups of 4 to 5, so each table theoretically is going to be its own group. All right, 10 seconds. I'm kidding.
I think
And we'll be sharing our ideas at the end. I just wanted to tell you, so get excited. Come on. So you guys will actually be 2 separate groups. 2 separate groups. Yeah, we want to keep them a little bit smaller, so 2 separate groups. Yeah. So 5 people, 6 people each max in a group. So okay. So then once you have 6 people, max 7 in your group, it's going to be easier with fewer numbers.
I'm actually creating.
Just quickly, maybe quickly share your names.
At least 1 people from this group. Anyone?
And since we're short on time,
Please.
apart from a
You don't
name
have to take the chair. There are
and what brings you here, don't share anything else. So literally like 1 sentence each, just go around. And after that, choose how you're going to make decisions or move through the process. So when you're designing, as you must notice at work, when you're designing in teams, people get stuck. They get stuck in an idea and they keep talking in circles. So we need one person, or not one person, we need a method to basically move on. So you can either pick a person or you can choose a voting method, but there should be one sort of source that's keeping you on track so you keep moving through the process. You can even choose a leader of the group, whatever you want that keeps you going. Are the groups formed?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, do your introductions. You guys have like a couple of minutes. and then pick like either a leader or a decision maker or something that will keep you guys moving and will interrupt you shamelessly if need be during the process.
So let's just get to know each other. Like you are in groups. Please introduce yourselves. Feel free. And also
You guys are not
try
doing
to
it.
choose a leader because you will have to decide on things. It's better if you can have a leader, or you can choose a system. Like you can go democracy style. Like you can vote for it. Things like that. All right, I think we know each other, right? Do we know each other?
Anybody need more time? Okay, 30
1
more
minute,
seconds.
please.
And it could be a social entrepreneur. It could be the beneficiaries themselves. It could be a community. It could be a leader. Whatever you think is the key lever of change to solve the problem, whoever you think is that key stakeholder would go here, needs to do is an action. Implement greater internet access is an example. Learn from their mistakes is an example. Distribute vaccinations in a more effective way to the poorest communities in a particular country. The more specific you make the statement in terms of the stakeholder and as well as the problem you're trying to solve, the easier this process is going to be. So get as specific as possible with the stakeholder, the action, and the problem. And we're here to help, so this is what we're here for. So we're gonna be walking around the groups and helping you get this statement right. And you'll be having to write this statement down on a piece of paper that's in front of you with a marker. The second point is just to consider who, why, how. I mean, it's all about this one statement. So at the end of about 10 minutes, we need a written statement from you. That one sentence is gonna be key for this process.
All right. So I'll just stop talking right now. It's time. I know you need to concentrate on the problem. All right, we are cool. The time starts now. Let's begin.
All right. I'll give you some time. Okay, so this we're going to give you like it's a rapid brainstorming period. We're going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes to take your statement and come up with ideas. We don't want you to shoot down each other's ideas. It's just about coming up with ideas, free-flowing. It would be good if you had one person kind of writing the ideas down or keeping track of them. Then you all will discuss them. So I'm just going to begin the first bullet now. 3 to 4 minutes, write down all the ideas you have that solve the problem statement.
System that's kind of like e-learning with AI. That kind of like Jara learner, the computer kind of like tracks them, whether they are getting it or not. So you get to give them a better training system. This is how you kind of like think with technology. You can do whatever you want. So come up with ideas. I think it's really cool. This is a very cool idea.
So just take somebody's idea and write it down. Maybe go in a circle. Don't react to anybody's idea yet. Then in the next phase, we'll discuss that. So you should have like one page with like 3 or 4 ideas on it of actual solutions. Like 3 or 4 bullets. Okay, we're gonna come around now and ask you what your 3, 4 ideas, even more, that you're going to debate in the next phase, because we want clear ideas. Okay, so we're really happy. We saw a bunch of great ideas. Each team has a few, at least. And one team is confident that their consensus-based one idea is the way to go. So let's see how it fares. Now we want you to decide. Well, we'll give you 4 points to a criteria.
So it's time to test your idea. What are the indicators? These are the indicators. You need to test the feasibility.
To discuss, so I would basically...
Yes,
Okay,
that
so-
is the hardest part.
So I would basically take a piece of paper, okay, and make 4 sections to it, because this should be done in a structured way. You can put feasibility, 1 row, cost, a 2nd row, innovativeness, 3rd, and the 4th will be effectiveness. If you have any questions on what each of these means, then ask. But it should be like 4 rows, and then think of your ideas as the columns, and go through each idea and assess them, like high, medium, low, or write down your concerns, because then you will be able to decide on one. Now we'll come around and help the groups.
Things like that.
We wanted to keep the funnel very wide with the ideas to get the most creativity. And remember, these are tech-enabled solutions. Tech-enabled. If your team has chosen one idea, then raise your hand. Has your team chosen one idea yet? You guys chose one? You guys still working? Okay, so does everybody have a solution? Cool, keep doing it. Okay, look, I know some of you are still assessing. You can continue to do it. But as a part of your process going forward, answer the question, who is going to benefit or who is going to benefit from this, or who is going to pay for it? The answer might be 2 separate parties, but we need to know the answer to each, and what value will they get from it themselves. Okay? So some statement around value. And now we'll give you a few more minutes, because we have to move very quickly now.
Can we have the attention, please? It's time to finally pitch your idea. This is the time. This is the thing you have been working for. And now think about it like you have your funder in front of you. You'll pitch the idea. You'll get the fund. Just go for it.
And you might actually have a funder in front of you. So just think about it like that. You never know where, a funder is sitting.
Yes. So we can start with the presentation. Can we? Yes. Can we?
So each team will have a minute and a half to, who's timing? Who's keeping time?
I'm timing.
Yeah, so each team will have a minute and a half to pitch their idea. Then each of us will ask one question to each of the teams.
Any volunteers for the first one?
App is going to have some features that do just that. We're going to connect with industry partners and create apprenticeships and partnerships for youth to find employment. We are going to highlight successful case stories of folks who are skilled laborers in these jobs, so that the youth and their families will then see these jobs in a different light. Okay? Thank you.
Great.
A minute and a half.
Okay, so my question for the team is, who actually cares about the perceptions of these vocations, and how does that inform who you're going to go for to get funding for this app?
Sometimes industries have gaps in employment in terms of not having the skilled laborers or the skilled workforce that they need. So we think that industry partners will pay for this because we'll be adding value to them.
Excellent answer.
You kind of like motivate them to use this platform. Why do you think they will use it? Actually, this is coming from you, right? So how will you convince them that you should definitely use it?
The stakeholders in terms of the youth or the industry?
The industry.
The industry. So we would do our market research. We would look and map our ecosystem and then see, I'm sorry, we always say the term map the ecosystem. I don't think I said it the right way. Okay, so we would canvas, we would find industry partners who are potentially hiring overseas or spending a lot of money on visa paperwork. And by upskilling our youth here, we wouldn't have to have folks spending a lot of time on visas, bringing in foreign workers. We would just have the workers here.
Great. Did everyone listen to that idea and understand that idea? So it's an app, correct, that is changing the perceptions of family and youth around particular skills gap or vocations that exist. And the funders you would pursue are those that are in the industry.
Like Walton, yeah.
That those that are in the industry who have this gap.
Yes.
And the way that you would get users to use it is, can you give me that final answer?
Oh, the youth in terms of users?
Yes. How would you convince them?
So we would have success stories. We would have VR environment so folks can understand what that kind of job is. I think there's a lot of stigma of a perception of what the job is and not necessarily understanding how it is.
So I still have the question about why youth would even choose to log on or use it, but we're out of time. Thank you so much.
But I would like to share what the idea is. So, in our country, there are a lot of students who are coming out of university and getting no jobs. And there's a big, huge problem. Although this problem has already been mentioned by some of our competitors, high competitors. So the way we are going to solve is to create a platform for where the content creators or course creators will be there. They will upload their teaching instruments, and the students will be going there to get and purchase their contents and vocational curricular learning stuffs online, which are very much well matched to their jobs. And for that project, we need around 60 lakh taka, which is around $100,000. And we are going to provide 10% equity for our new ventures. So if you have any question, feel free to ask.
So you have mentioned job portals.
No, it's not a job portal. It's a platform where a group will upload contents, vocational training elements, and other group will subscribe to those contents and will provide money. I mean, we'll purchase this
One
tutorials.
interesting question is you specifically asked for the specific amount of money. Where did you come up with? What is the rationale behind getting?
It's a template of, it's just a template version. I mean, probably the amount will be 1 crore or probably the amount will be 80 lakhs. So I just gave you a placeholder number.
Cool.
So this sounds excellent. So basically there are curricula that exist that map to skills that are currently gaps in the job market. And a certain curriculum provider will upload it, and then they'll be used or paid for by another entity that's actually going to use it. Is that how it works?
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay. I don't have any questions.
This is an excellent idea.
Ooh,
No judgment. They're all
a
good
big
ideas.
claps.
We're just saying
The way
we're moving
he
on.
approached it was
A
really
big
good.
claps, please.
Okay.
Woo.
So we looked at a problem this country facing, and it's around
Please give him your full attention.
unemployment, and we are wanting to find a way to solve that, and by reducing the unemployment problem here. And in that, we looked at some people actually do not like to go through tech training. Their parents want them to go to more high-profile school, not necessarily for tech training here in Bangladesh. So we are wanting to find a way how we can encourage parents and how they can allow their children to go into that program. And by doing that, we really think there's many different ways, multiple choices, text message, and then tech-enabled workshops using VR, AR, and so on. And also tech for embedded chip as well. So interestingly, I'm going to invite my colleague to quickly talk about in our evaluation, we found that VR, AR.
30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so our topic was behavioral change. So we needed to find a problem whose solution is through changing behavior, and then we traced it back. What are the technologies that can help people change their behavior. So we wanted to have parents change their attitude towards sending their children to apprentice programs instead of sending to university degree from well-known universities. Okay, so awareness was the way that if we can make the parents aware of the success stories of the apprentice programs, then we feel that they will be more eager to send their kids to those training programs. So there are 3 solutions that can make this happen.
Just tell us the top
We need
one.
one.
We need one.
Feasibility, text messaging, VR AR solution, and embedded chip.
Okay. And
Apprenticeship in any sort of field.
And who's going to use, what's the demographic or the user you're targeting, and who will pay for it in 30 seconds?
Okay, so it will be used to target parents, and it will be paid by NGOs or even government or even tech companies, because we are helping, the effect will be such that it will help unemployment go down. So we are actually improving SDGs target number 8.
Great. So I would think about how much that actually is going to cost in reality and how logistically feasible it is. That would be my next question for you, but unfortunately we're out of time.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
For education quality gap. So what we're proposing here is there's a huge quality gap in terms of active learning, we know. We're going to deploy app-based solutions to school. Simple as that, where children will be the key players in terms of active learning, which needs minimal intervention for teacher training. So that's the idea. So they'll be playing with the app, learning, active learning, and perhaps developing their ideas, and that will sort of encourage the teachers in order to learn the solutions. The key thing is really, one of the key things is that we're going on the principle basis. You can't teach the old dogs new tricks. So
Sorry to
what we're trying to do,
your pitch. I think they're getting really sort of a bit anxious about time for good reason.
Okay.
What I've heard so far was very clear in my mind, and it's very crisp. So thank you for that. My only question is, what is this specific, I guess, user you're targeting, age group, otherwise? And the same question I've asked others, who do you anticipate paying for it? Is it the school system? Is it somebody else?
So this is really a primary school paid by the government, because we're solving the problem for the needs for the government. So the government needs to address this issue, which solves many problems within schools. And then the consumers obviously will be the users will be the children, parents, and anyone else.
And the main problem is active learning.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Introductions. So our problem is based on the Minister of Education and Deputy Minister of Education's repeated statement about how they want to revamp the education sector and the curriculum. So the problem we are identifying here is how education curriculum in Bangladesh promotes gender stereotypes. So we are saying that the Ministry of Education needs to acknowledge the need of gender neutral curriculum, because the current curriculum design encourages stereotypes, and we are going to do this through a very simple tool, which is going to be an online interactive quiz that we are going to roll out in the schools via the Ministry of Education, and on the basis of the data that has been collected from that, we are going to have a look at basically 2 criteria. One, is the curriculum shaping the gender choices of the students, and number 2 will they be interested in learning something which is outside the gender stereotypes. Like, for example, boys will be taking agriculture classes and girls are taking home economics right now in Bangladesh, and that's a mandatory choice. So we want to see if they would actually opt out of it if given a chance, and we have gone really harsh on our model.
Sorry to cut you off.
I'm done.
Any comments from you? Because what I heard is very clear to me.
Yes.
It's very specific, and it's a great first step. And yeah, you haven't jumped all the way to like the solution. It's an interim solution, which is the survey.
And very feasible, by the way. Yes.
So
good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Traffic violation. Okay, relax. It's not so brutal as it sounds here. Let's go to the solution. So what we're proposing here is an app where we will store the driver's details and the vehicle's details and also his driving history and the number of violations this person has had, the vehicle has had. And the beneficiaries are the car owners and other transport owners, as well as the government. And we believe if we implement this, we're going to have lesser accidents on the roads, and a residual effect could be safer roads for us. I mean, other factors cut out. And how are we planning to implement the solution?
Sorry to cut you off.
Is it over?
Actually, no, go finish the implementation
I'll
really
finish
quickly.
this, okay.
Really quickly.
So this is a very simple solution. So every time there's a violation, the car owner as well as the driver gets a notification through an email and an SMS, which we've got available, and also to revamp, to transfer the data the traffic data that we have on vehicles and as well as on drivers onto an app, and charge the user, mostly the car owners, a small fee to cover the development costs. Because even like if 100,000 people pay 10 taka for this, I mean this pretty much covers for the cost of developing this technology if done locally.
Sorry, excellent. Just one thing, we're not going to cover it right now. We can't discuss it right now, unfortunately. Thank you all for so much for your time. This is concluded. If you have any questions, reach out to either of us. My email is here. You probably can reach Taneem through BRAC. Thank you.